What's up, guys? I want to tell you a little bit about this knife. It's from Joker Blades in Spain. I'm going to tell you more about this in a second. I'm just hanging out in a One Tigress tent. It's a little smoky hut. I'm running a Sportsman's Guide small wood stove in here. And it doesn't take much to heat up this tent, but oh my gosh, it's hot in here already. It really, really heats up a place quick. It's about 0 with the wind chill. It's -8 right now outside. And inside, I shouldn't be wearing a sweater, I'll tell you that much. This is definitely t-shirt weather. Kind of getting hot. Love this tent. Go watch the review that I just posted of that Sportsman's Guide stove, though, especially if you're a backpacker, hiker, a sled-in guy, or you have a cabin, something like that you want to heat. That stove is amazing. Now I'm going to talk about this real quick, and I'm actually going to compare this Joker blade a little bit against the LT Wright Genesis. So they're not exactly in the same price class, but utility-wise, use-wise, and fit and finish-wise, they're actually pretty close. And so I'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm going to tell you this blade comes in a few options. You might be able to get it in Kydex, leather, fire steel loop options. I went with a more simplistic version because I don't need to spend a whole bunch of money on a fancier sheath. I have a few really nice knives, and everything else I get, I usually go with a more affordable option. But I'm a Swedish guy, and I like the burl. Okay, this is a birch burl handle. The sheath itself is actually pretty high quality. I'll tell you that if I was to compare this sheath versus the one that comes with the LT Wright, which is over $100 more expensive, by the way, the LT Wright sheath is quality. It feels great. It's very smooth, but this is a thicker sheath, and in some ways I kind of like this one better. Both are pouch style sheaths and are very high quality, and I don't think you'd have a problem with either one. But thickness on this one seems a little better. They did a really nice job with this. I'll tell you the stitching on the outside, I like the rectangle bushcraft style sheath, especially with the eyelets or the holes. The stitching is really, really good. The emblem on the front I can usually do without, but it's kind of cool. That's how they're advertising, and they make blades for Castrum and a few different other outfits perhaps. And so they're getting their brand out there too. Very nice. It does not come with a fire steel looped up goofy in the back like how I did. That's just what I'm doing to keep it with it. And the climbing hook does not come with it. Normally it has a bushcraft style dangler with a leather strap with 2 snaps on the back. And I just prefer climbing hooks because I wear my blades, especially in the winter, hooked onto the front belt loop of my pants. I don't want it on the side of my pants or behind me or whatever, because it's going to get full of snow. The things that are in front of me are accessible and I can work with them. And so this is what I choose to do, is go with a climbing hook, and I can also lock it on just for safety. This loop seems pretty good. It is not the strongest point for the sheath. I would say the attachment method they went with here, it's kind of like a tab inside that pins it on there, and it seems pretty good, but I wish it was also stitched and then glued underneath. I wish they went over the top with that, but as it is, this is what they produced, and it's a pretty good sheath. I'm not going to talk a whole lot more about it because it's a sheath. Let's move on to the blade. Okay, so the blade itself, it's a pretty knife. It's definitely a pretty knife. It grabbed my eye. I've been looking at these for a while. I was curious about them. I wasn't sure how good or big they are. That's usually the thing I'm concerned about, is the handle, which I'll get to in a little bit. The blade itself is a 14C steel. It's like the same as the Garberg and some other steel or some other stainless knives in that price range. And it's definitely a step up from that 12 version that they use in like a cheap Mora. This is a step up. It definitely holds an edge better, and I feel like it gets just as sharp myself. Definitely made to be a blade steel. That's what that steel was, is a blade steel. It wasn't stolen from anything else. So metallurgy wise, pretty superior to a lot of things you're using out there. The Scandi grind is great, even though it is a little bit thick for some folks. It's not quite as thick as I won't throw any names out there, but some other brands that continuously are making really thick Scandi knives that are hard to work with. It doesn't feel like that at all. This is very workable in the hand. But the angle, the degree, I shouldn't have trouble keeping up with that and honing it, keeping it very, very sharp over time. I don't prefer sharpening choils ever, especially sharp ones. On a bushcraft knife, the only thing that should be sharp is the spine and the edge. Nothing else should be sharp. This is a bad idea. Okay, I'm not criticizing the company. I think it's a great company. I'm just saying, in general, for designs, don't put that kind of stuff on there, especially for people like me with big hands. I'm going to choke up on those on any knife, and I don't want something in the way, and I want that blade going all the way back. I'm not going to cut myself. We can be treated like adults. We'll be safe enough with it, okay? They've got their design, their branding on this side, which a lot of times I could go without, but the burl, the character, if you can see that, wow, that's actually really good. I've had more expensive knives than this with worse birch burl. This is actually really, really nice quality. It was a little dry when it came, and I'll tell you one thing, they probably should have put a little more oil on it. Nothing happened, it didn't crack or anything, but I did right away put some oil on there. I was a little concerned. It also was, transported through Minnesota, where it's extremely dry and freezing, sub-zero currently. But I like what I'm seeing so far. A little thicker than I would like. I would like it a full mil thinner. I like 3 mil thick blades. 5/32 is a little more than I care for. But anyways, I should probably talk about this. So the design is not straight back. Like, here's a LT Wright Kephart. Well, this blade, if you could just compare, the broadness definitely goes to this blade right here with the actual blade. Also has a sharpening choil, which I wish it didn't. But the broadness, it just eclipsed the other blade, basically. But it's straight back. And that's neither here nor there. It's just a design feature. This one has a little bit of a rise there. It kind of reminds me of some castrum knives that they produce. That's cool. It's different. It's unique. It's not typical, so I like that. On the belly, there's definitely somewhat of a drop in there. I don't prefer that. I want the fullest handle I can. I'll tell you one thing that I like a little bit better about the Genesis, which is again over $100 more. The Genesis handle is just a little bit more hand filling than this is. This is not much different in overall feel than a Garberg handle. It is generally thicker, but it is not more broad. And so especially in this first finger position, I don't want my fingers getting crammed into here. That's not comfortable. But I'm also a big person. I think small hands, medium-sized hands, they'll be fine. Large, extra large, you'll notice it. But not much more in other blades because it is decently thick. It's a nice round handle. It is comfortable. I'm just saying I would have preferred it to be a little more broad, which some of their other models might be that way. I'm not an expert with this company. But man, the figure is really nice. Great lanyard hole. Everything, like fit and finish, is really high quality. I would say fit and finish is either the same as this LT Wright Genesis, or maybe a little better. I had one defect in the blade, one little spot that wasn't sharpened quite right, and this is perfect. The edge is perfect, no need for stropping or anything like that. The pins look great. The sanding was amazing. Like I said, it's just a little dry. It's got this little, you could use it as a scraper on the end here, but it's a very full tang all the way through. And I like using the third pin as a lanyard hole as well. So resourceful, good use of space, lots of strength in this blade. I'm absolutely sure that lots of strength in the blade. I do wish that the handle didn't have this reduction back here. If it had stayed thicker all the way through, it wouldn't be as universally fitting for most people's hands. There are small people and big people. I'm a big person. The world is not made for people like me. It just isn't anywhere. And so I know for me, I'm always looking for that slightly more broad knife that's not 9 inches long, that is thick enough and broad enough in the handle, essentially. And that's hard to find, but this comes very close, and I don't have a lot of complaints. It's still pretty comfortable, and if I throw on gloves, I don't notice it at all, which in the winter, this blade is probably going to get used with gloves a lot of times. When it's 20 below, you don't tend to hold on to steel very long. It's just too cold. But the figure is great. Again, the LT Wright Genesis, if you were to try to decide which one to go with, is it worth the extra $100 to go with the Genesis? I would say only by a slim margin. And I really like this company. I mean, LT Wright, I like his company for lots of reasons. I really like the blade. It's probably my favorite flat grind I've ever used. But I would say this narrowly wins out in the Scandi grind version over this Joker blade, and it is because of the handle for me and the broadness of the blade itself. It's got a lot of shearing power. You know, you have a couple more features in here. It's a little bit more custom, but it's also $100 more, which this you can get for under $100, especially if you know where you're looking. If you have to have the top quality options with a sheath and all that kind of stuff, you'll pay over $100. But these blades, I have seen this recently for $265 in the flat grind 3V version. This is a far superior steel, in my opinion, to the 14, but the 14 is a good, respectable steel, and I don't care when it comes to Scandis. I don't have to have super steel. I'm actually more concerned with a flat grind, honestly, than I am with a Scandi. But these blades in hand, maybe I should back up a little bit so you can see here. In hand, they're not really that different. A little bit different, but not really different. I like the distal taper of the LT Right, whether that be a flat grind or a Scandi. I like distal tapers. But this one has a lot of strength, probably batons better, splits wood, carves better for sure. Like, okay. This is a thin piece of maple. It's not real thick, but for a flat grind, this thing does amazing. Okay? I grab this knife, and 2 cuts, it does twice the work. That Scandi is just extremely effective. I'm very, very pleased with it. Overall, I'm really happy with both these blades, but I just want to let you know I'll be doing a review of this knife in not too long. I'm going to take a trip with it, I think, here maybe next month, a month after that. I'll be doing a review of this blade on that trip. And if you have any comments or questions or things you want to see with this or comparisons against other blades, I have some Enzos, I have LT Right, Ontario. If you want to see a comparison, just go ahead and drop that down in the comments. Other than that, I want to tell you guys Merry Christmas. Jesus does love you. He proved it on a cross 2,000 years ago, and before that he humbled himself and took upon the flesh, and I believe that with my whole heart. More passionate about that than I am about knives and guns and other stuff on my channel. And so I just want to throw that out there to you, that there are rational, reasonable, gun-loving, outdoors kinds of guys who are also passionate about the Lord. And I just want to throw that out to you as an option that it's reasonable to look into. You guys have a Merry Christmas. God bless you. Go ahead and comment down below if you hate me, you love me, you hate God, you love God, whatever. Or if you just want to talk about the gear, that's good too.